Global warming impacts? California is seeing the worst of it.
Ever wanted to drive a Tesla? More on how you can rent one for your next vacation.
Broadcasting live from the University of North Texas, this is ntTV Nightly News.
Thanks for joining us on ntTV Nightly News. I'm Victor Villagran.
And I'm Michelle Brooks. The incarcerated community has a lower education level than any other faction in the United States. The percentage of formerly incarcerated people who obtain a bachelor's degree was 4% as of 2018. To combat this issue, one person has made it her priority to offer education and bring equal opportunity to this community.
Good evening.
In 1997, Lori Pompa, a criminal justice professor at Temple University, took a class of students into a prison. It was the start of the Inside Out prison exchange program.
It was way, way beyond what I had anticipated. I thought it was going to be really deep, but the learning that happened was so multifaceted. All of us learning about ourselves, about other people, about assumptions that we carry, about communication, about working through conflict, all these layers beyond just the criminal justice stuff. It just knocked me out.
The program was introduced at the prison Joe Schwartz had been incarcerated at for 13 years.
It was the first programming for me that was meaningful and purposeful. You know, if you're in prison for a long time, you feel as if you're not seen, you're not heard, you have no agency. There is really nothing to validate you or affirm you. And this provided all of those things for me. And it changed the trajectory of my life.
For students on the outside, this opportunity can be used for experience in the field. UNT will launch its program in the fall of 2022.
So the benefit for our UNT criminal justice majors is that most of our majors, if they want to get a job in the field, are going to be working with people who are involved in the justice system. And this really allows them to kind of see what the impact of the criminal justice system is on actual people, rather than just talking about it hypothetically in class or maybe anecdotally. You know, this really gets them to have the hard conversations with people who have actually been through this themselves.
Let's give Lori a round of applause.
Thank you.
The program will be offered across multiple subjects, no matter your major.
One impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has nothing to do with the virus. Rather, a new study shows that binge drinking is on the rise. This is National Collegiate Alcohol Awareness Week, and UNT is trying to educate students on how they can drink safer. UNT PD set up at the Library Mall showing students what it's like to drive under the influence. They had an obstacle course and drunk goggles to give you a chance to see what it really is like when you drink and drive. Best advice? If you get a drink, get a ride. If you need help, the UNT SURE program has a Lyft code that you can use to get free rides from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. Our reporter Patrice Dorr is out on Fry Street to tell us a little bit more about what universities across the country are doing this week. Patrice?
This week is UNT's National Collegiate Alcohol Awareness Week. This week was started in 1982 due to the notice of drug and alcohol substance abuse across campuses. This event allows campus to promote healthy lifestyles and combat peer pressure drinking. Across America, this week is celebrated every third week of October. UNT's Rise Center offers help for recovery for students who are seeking help in substance and drug abuse. That's all I have for you. Back to you.
Thank you, Patrice. It's no secret that most college students are at the highest risk for transmitting an STI. In an effort to combat this problem, UNT is providing its students with the Test or Treat event. ntTV's Gabriella Evans has more.
Are you at risk for getting an STI? Well, lucky for you, UNT is providing a Test or Treat event where you can get tested for only $35, which is half off the normal price. Testing includes urine testing for chlamydia and gonorrhea, and blood testing for HIV and syphilis. You can get tested Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, at the second floor of the Chestnut Hall. Testing is open to the UNT community. Upfront payment is required and cannot be billed through insurance. If you have any questions, you can call 940-565-2418 or email the Student Health and Wellness Center at meadowcenter@unt.edu. Stay safe and get tested. That's all I have. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Gabriella. Michelle, tell me why it's late October, almost November, and it's still as hot as a gas station pickle.
Well, Victor, that's one way to put it, and maybe our weather anchor, Michaela Goose, will have your answer, because I'm not sure that I do. Michaela?
Thanks, guys. I don't know if it's quite as hot as a gas station pickle out here, but it's definitely not cool enough to be considered fall weather. Now, let's go ahead and start looking at our current conditions across Denton right now. As of right now, it's 84 degrees, but it's going to feel a little cooler at 82 because of those southeastern 9-mile-an-hour winds, and it is going to stay partly cloudy or even clear for the rest of the night. Now, going into tonight, it's going to cool down a lot. It's going to be about 67 degrees, and that's exactly what it's going to feel like because there's going to be almost no wind, only about 5-mile-an-hours. Now, moving into tomorrow, this is where we really got to watch for those winds. Supposedly, the wind gusts aren't going to get up to about 30 miles an hour, so be careful driving on the highway and walking to the streets to class. Now, that temperature for tomorrow is going to be 87. It's going to feel cooler at 84 because of those winds. But as of right now, that is all I can tell you. If you want to hear more about what Halloween is going to look like, stay tuned for the rest of the full weather forecast.
Thanks, Michaela. You know, I'm sure New Orleans locals appreciated the nice weather they had over the weekend. The streets of the city were filled with ghoulish ghosts and parade floats alike for the Crew of Boo Parade on Saturday. The event marks the first parade in New Orleans since Mardi Gras 2020. Harrison Golden has the spooky scoop.
The spirit is coming back. And it's not that scary.
Folks, we might say these costumes, characters, and crews are a comfort.
It's been a while since we've gotten out of the Batcave. We get to see the comings and the goings, all the little kids, the big kids, and I'm a big kid.
Not since Mardi Gras 2020 have the New Orleans streets seen so many floats and feet at once.
But I think everybody's ready to get back to normal life, so why not? Why not?
It's great to be back. I think the city needs this, and we're here for it.
And along the parade route, we caught some standouts of their own.
I'm really looking forward as best I can to see as many parades as I can.
I like that you can dress up as anything you want.
August Berry is a 7-year-old boy from Galveston, Texas. But at Crew of Boo, he's a voodoo doll.
Because I really like it and I think it's creepy.
And whether you danced, rode, or just enjoyed the scenery, folks couldn't escape that feeling they want more.
You can feel the momentum they want to get. They just can hardly wait to see a parade, get costumed, see their friends.
Mayor LaToya Cantrell says the future of Mardi Gras 2022 rides largely on this. The city will watch COVID rates closely these next few weeks.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes.
But Batman says he's got it covered.
Everybody in my family's been vaccinated. We all got the bat shot, so we're feeling pretty good about that.
Parades have been a major source of income in New Orleans in the past, so the city is certainly glad to see them return.
A political rally that ended in death is back in the spotlight. We'll explain.
We have all the details on what Facebook is doing to confront the crisis coming up. tonight, Texas has a new voting map. Governor Greg Abbott just signed legislation that redraws the map for all voting districts. The new map cements the Republican hold on the state by limiting new political representation for minority communities. This move is already under fire by opponents who say the new voting districts don't reflect the large population growth of minority communities in Texas. This is a developing story, and ntTV will bring you more as it comes in.
A federal trial began today against the organizers of the 2017 Charlottesville Unite the Right rally that left dozens injured and one counter-protester dead when a man drove his car into the crowd. CNN's Jason Carroll has the story.
Chilling images from the night 4 years ago in Charlottesville, Virginia, when hundreds of neo-Nazis and white supremacists gathered for a Unite the Right rally. White nationalists chanted anti-Semitic slogans during the march, which ended in violence and death. Among those groups was James Alex Fields, now serving 2 life sentences. He was convicted on state charges, including murder and federal hate crime charges, for deliberately driving his car into counter-protesters. He injured more than 24 people and killed one, 32-year-old Heather Heyer. But some argue there is still more justice to be served.
These defendants orchestrated the violence, came to Charlottesville to engage in the violence, and then celebrated the violence as a victory for their movement.
Amy Spectalnik is executive director of Integrity First for America. It's a nonprofit organization behind a civil suit underway in federal court. 9 plaintiffs who were injured 4 years ago are suing the organizers of the rally for monetary damages, alleging individuals and organizations that conspired to plan, promote, and carry out the violent events in Charlottesville. Conspired is key, as lawyers will be relying on a 150-year-old law known as the Ku Klux Klan Act. The law empowers victims of racial violence and civil rights violations to sue for damages if they can prove a conspiracy. Plaintiffs say there is plenty of evidence showing conspiracy, including memes some of the defendants shared on social media ahead of the rally showing a car hitting protesters.
The mountain of evidence in this case makes crystal clear that it was planned meticulously.
Fields is one of 24 defendants named in the civil suit. The defendants include a number of hate groups, such as the National Socialist Movement, a neo-Nazi group. An attorney representing that group says the plaintiff's case is based on emotion and vengeance, but not evidence, saying plaintiffs have yet to produce a single piece of evidence to support their claim of a conspiracy to commit violence in Charlottesville. If not for the fact that the defendants are mostly white supremacists, the suit would have been dismissed years ago. Defendants argue they're protected by the First Amendment, that they were exercising their rights to free speech and assembly. But some legal experts say that will be tough to prove in this case.
But when that protest turns into really, an assault upon people of color, an assault upon members of the Jewish community, an assault upon people who really are just counter-protesting and exercising their rights, you've gone too far.
The defendants filed a motion to dismiss the case 3 years ago, but it was rejected. The judge ruled that while the First Amendment protects their right to protest, it does not protect against violence.
It's one of the most powerful media companies in the world, but it is facing an uncertain future. Facebook is reeling from a public relations challenge. Chris Wynn has more from Washington.
Facebook under fire, facing what could be the biggest crisis in the social media giant's 17-year history.
The research and studies that reveal Facebook putting profits over people are from Facebook's own files, revealed to them long before it was revealed to us.
The fallout started Friday when a group of media outlets, including CNN, started reporting on hundreds of internal company documents dubbed the Facebook Papers. Whistleblower Frances Haugen provided the papers as evidence to support disclosures she made to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and her legal counsel provided Congress with redacted copies.
Facebook never set out to prioritize polarizing divisive content. It just happened to be a side effect of choices they did make.
Monday, the former Facebook employee appeared before the UK Parliament to call for more government regulation of the social media platform.
Facebook acting in a non-transparent, unaccountable way will just lead to more tragedies.
The papers reveal how the company addressed misinformation and moderated hate speech, and they paint a damning picture of Facebook's role in the January 6th insurrection.
It's clear that the January 6th organization, per se, used them as an organizing tool to the extent that we can identify what really happened.
A Facebook spokesperson told CNN Friday that the responsibility for the violence that occurred on January 6th lies with those who attacked the Capitol and those who encouraged them. In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn.
Michelle, Facebook is still up and the weather is still hot.
It sure is, but is that hot for all of Texas? Michaela, what do you know?
Thanks, guys. Now, I will get into Halloween in just a second, but if you see where I am standing in front of the Environmental Science Building and this beautiful little garden that they have. Now, what I want to talk about, and the reason I'm out here, is the new report by the United Nations. The United Nations released a report earlier that said greenhouse gas emissions are going to rise about 16% by 2030. This is a jump from what we thought they were going to do. Now, there are currently over 100 countries pledging to reduce carbon emissions, and this was a part of the Paris Climate Agreement that was signed by 143 countries in 2015. The United Nations say that these pledges will only make for a 9% decrease by 2030. Now, this will drastically affect our climate here in North Texas. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and talk about what kind of weather we can see in the short term. Now, if we take a look across North Texas, as you can see, we are going to be experiencing a lot of 80s. In Denton, as I've said before, we are at about 84. Over in Bowie, there's going to be 81. In Stephenville, 88. That's going to be our highest. And then Dallas, Fort Worth, about 86, 85. Going into our current conditions across the state, like I said before, anchoring us home, Denton in 84. El Paso out there is going to be 86. Austin, 89. Abilene even hotter at 92. They are not getting any break or any breath of relief for Halloween coming up around the corner. Now, going into our 7-day forecast, what I know everyone really wants to hear, what is Sunday going to be like? Well, leading up on Wednesday, it's going to have some thunderstorms. High of 70, low of 56. Friday, it's going to be pretty clear, high of 71, low of 48. Saturday, it's going to be clear as well with a high of 76 and a low of 52. And on Halloween, Sunday, it's going to be clear. That high is going to be 78, that low is going to be 53. So I highly recommend you bring a jacket or some socks with you to whatever costume party you're going to be at. And I hope it's inside because it's going to be a little chilly that night, but nothing to stop us from having our spooky fun. That's all I have for weather. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Michaela. The weather in California is causing problems across the state. Fires devastated large parts of the state all summer, but now flooding is a problem. CNN's Ryan Curry has more.
North Bay residents are feeling the harsh impacts of this storm.
We've got kids in our house right now that we're ready to go if needed.
Matt Carlson has lived on this street for 8 years. He says it has never been this flooded.
Granted, it's been dry for the last 4 or 5 years, but we've seen some pretty big storms and nothing like this at all.
He says the water started flowing high on this street in the early afternoon. As it kept rising, authorities helped many of his neighbors leave their homes.
My neighbors right here are a little older, and they got out about an hour ago, and we have friends down here that I'm hoping they're not going to suffer too much from water in their home.
The street is right near a creek bed. Other residents say the water level in the creek started rising rapidly, leaving parts of the street flooded.
The flood markers are up at around 9 feet, so it's pretty high.
It's moving so fast down there that it's moving this is flat rock, it's actually moving the rocks.
But it is not just Santa Rosa. Many parts of the North Bay are feeling the effects of this storm. Crews in Sebastopol are fixing down power lines, and Ivan Lopez and his family are laying out sand to prevent flooding from getting into his home.
So we're just trying to prevent water coming into our property, so we're doing some big back sands basically, trying to get it, natural run to the drain storm right there.
He says his street doesn't have the best sewers, and with rain arriving fast, he doesn't want to take any chances.
We woke up and it was around 4:30 when we come out, and we tried, coming with some equipment and try to get this thing done.
That flooding has caused more than just damage to homes. This massive rock slide closed Highway 70 in California. It collapsed in the burn scar from the Dixie Fire. With no trees to hold the earth, the rain is loosening rocks and vegetation, causing the slide. No word when that highway will reopen. All right, Michelle, I want to know how much you would give me for these shoes.
Well, Victor, I don't think we wear the same size, and unless they smell good, I can't justify buying you shoes.
Well, we bet you can't guess how much these shoes are selling for. Stay with us to find out more. Hey, Michelle, have you gotten your Halloween costume yet?
No, I haven't. I'm kind of just thinking about stocking up on Halloween candy this year.
Well, according to the National Retail Federation, Americans will spend a record of $10 billion on costumes, candy, and decorations for adults, children, and pets. Over $3.3 billion will go towards costumes. NRF says that it is the most money spent on Halloween items since 2017. And if you don't want to walk around from house to house for Halloween, you can actually ride in a Tesla.
Hertz Car Rental Company is buying 100,000 Teslas, which is Tesla's largest order ever made by a single buyer. Hertz has chosen Tesla because rental car companies are having trouble getting gas-powered cars due to a shortage of parts. About how many Teslas long do you think a football field is, Victor?
Michelle, I don't know, maybe 23? It's not something I've ever researched before. But Jennifer, do you know the answer by chance?
I don't know, Victor. What are we talking? Regular Teslas, Model S, Model X, those Tesla trucks? What kind of Tesla?
I didn't know that Teslas came in different forms.
I'm guessing 23 as well.
Okay.
Well, 23 was also the date this past Saturday, for the North Texas football game. I have all the details of the game and more coming up after the break. Despite leading for most of the game, the Mean Green fell this weekend to Liberty 35-26. UNT came out strong, holding the Flames to only 14 points in the first half. The offense was led by the rushing duo of senior DeAndre Torrey and freshman Ayo Adeyi with a total of 242 rushing yards. The defense also had a season-high 6 sacks and created a lot of pressure on the Flames offense. This was unfortunately still not enough to hold off Liberty's quarterback Malik Willis. Despite going out with a foot injury in the second quarter, Willis came back to win the game and throw for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Mean Green will travel this week to take on Rice this Saturday at 1 p.m. The Dallas Mavericks season is fully underway, and with their home opener coming up, some health and safety protocols are potentially being lifted. Mark Cuban and the Mavs will soon lift the requirement that fans would have to either show full COVID-19 vaccination proof or a negative COVID test within 48 hours of a home game. This all does depend on Dallas County and the daily average case count. Cuban said as long as the daily average count in Dallas County stays below 500, the Mavericks will ease the protocol for fans. If that count does surpass the 500 cases, the team will reinstate those requirements. These changes will not go into effect quite yet, as the Mavericks will make a formal announcement when the requirements have been lifted. Masks will be still required for fans ages 2 and older who are not actively eating or drinking in the arena. The Dallas Mavericks will finally have their home opener tomorrow night against the Houston Rockets. Tip-off is at 7:30 p.m. Now, speaking of basketball, North Texas men's basketball senior Thomas Bell was voted to the Conference USA preseason all-conference team. The team is voted on by all 14 head coaches, and Bell was one of the 11 players chosen to the team. Since coming to UNT, Thomas has been a vital role on this basketball team and the last 2 seasons' Conference USA tournament wins. Last season, he also averaged over 10 points a game and made crucial plays in the NCAA March Madness tournament this past season. The Mean Green will officially kick off their season November 9th, but they do have an exhibition game this Saturday against Arkansas in Fayetteville. A portion of the proceeds of this game will go to COVID relief efforts in the state of Arkansas. Tip-off is scheduled for 4 p.m. Well, that is all I have for sports tonight, so back to Michelle and Victor at the desk.
Thanks, Jennifer. Now, if you're looking for a pair of shoes and have $1.47 million to spare, you just missed your chance. Game-worn Michael Jordan sneakers sold at auction this weekend for nearly $1.5 million. The hefty price tag is a new record for the most money paid at auction for a pair of shoes. The sneakers were worn during the 5th game of his rookie season back in 1984. The shoe's new owner? Card collector Nick Fiorella. Needless to say, he'll be careful when stepping over a puddle. Now, Michelle, I think I could sell my shoes for that much during an auction. What do you think?
I'm not really sure, but I wish you a lot of luck on that, Victor. I don't know. I don't know. But thanks for watching ntTV Nightly News.
Join us again tomorrow night at 6 here on North Texas Television.